Hi, in this video I will talk about the Chaos Surah and the Surah 18. And we say to angels, fall prostrate before Adam. They fell prostrate except Satan. He became a jinn, for he disobeyed the order of his Lord. Will you choose him and his descendants as lords instead of me, even though they are your enemies? What a miserable substitute! I never permitted them to witness the creation of the heavens and the earth, nor the creation of themselves, nor do I permit the wicked to work in my kingdom. The day will come when he says, call upon my partners, whom you claim to be gods beside me. They will call on them, but they will not respond to them. An insurmountable barrier will separate them from each other. The guilty will see hell, and will realize that they will fall into it. They will have no escape therefrom. So this is interesting that here in this surah is about the cave, and the cave is actually a barrier. And in the beginning of the surah, we know that there is a barrier protecting them in the cave. The 7 sleepers are in the cave. So it's somehow interestingly related, interestingly mentioned. In other verses there is also mentioned, but it makes it more interesting, I guess. The guilty will see hell and will realize that they will fall into it. They will have no escape therefrom. We have cited in this Quran every kind of example, but the human being is most argumentative creature. And nothing prevented the people from believing when the guidance came to them, and from seeking the forgiveness of their Lord, except that they demanded to see the same as the previous generations, or challenged to see the retribution beforehand. So it's like, where is the retribution? Just bring it, or just show me the miracles. So the conditions they put forward. They can't understand the fact that it's actually a mandatory, and they should think about it. A skill they have, an instinct they have in their heart. When we only send the messengers as simple deliverers of good news, as well as warners, those who disbelieve argue with falsehood to defeat the truth, and they take my proofs and warnings in vain. Who are more evil than those who are reminded of their Lord's proofs, then disregard them without realizing what they're doing? Consequently, we place shields on their hearts to prevent them from understanding it, and deafness in their ears. Thus, no matter what you do to guide them, they can never ever be guided. So it's interesting. So here I said that there is a separate barrier separating afterlife. In this life, there is another barrier, because they're separating themselves from listening, from using that skill, that instinct given by God. So they didn't activate that part in their brain, and they didn't activate the mercy. So you say that some people are good, and because they have this thing open, and they live like this. But some people switch it off, and they're like psychopaths. It's not exactly the same, and they can hurt others, and they have a strong sense of selfishness, and they do everything for themselves, for their body needs, and other things, other people, they don't care about it. But in our brain, it's not the right way to do. If you do it, you will feel guilty, and they keep doing it. Like, they keep doing bad things, and then at some point they don't feel guilty. So it's like they locked. They cannot open that door. They don't have the same brain. They don't have the same emotions. But they choose to be. They repeatedly did bad things, so that they start to understand things differently. Who are more evil than those who are reminded of their Lord's proofs, then disregard them without realizing what they're doing? Consequently, we placed shields on their hearts to prevent them from understanding it, and deafness in their ears. Thus, no matter what you do to guide them, they can never be guided because they already closed the doors and they had other opportunity. The doors were closed. It's like, no, not interested in. And they did bad things before. So that bad things, the bad deeds, uh, harm the balance in their brain, and they cannot see the truth and they cannot feel it. Yet your Lord is the forgiver, full of mercy. If he called them to account for their deeds, he will annihilate them right there and then. Instead, he gives them a respite until a specific predetermined time. Then they can never escape. Many a community will be annihilated because of their transgressions. We designated a specific time for their annihilation. It is another logical thing because, first of all, we believe like just let's say one generation that no others in the historical books. It's like a 1,000 years, right? And even we don't know what happened in 1024 year 1023. And this says that in the gods, laws, and this is nothing. It's actually like a one day. So and God is so the cognitive, so God's understanding is beyond us. So that's why God can design it, because it means like it's not like God is determining. It's like people are determining. God knows the result. And in the world, with those giving responsibility, a lot of people can go to heaven based on the Quranic message. That's what God wants. So if the things happen like, let's assume that no one will go to heaven, no one deserve, then you will say that there's something wrong. Like what's then? But here we see that some people will go to heaven, some people will go to hell. It's about the fairness of the God. This about the responsibility we have. So another story is coming. Moses said to his servant, I will not rest until I reach the point where the two rivers meet, no matter how long it takes. And he says with God, he doesn't say God willing here, and we don't see. When they reached the point where they met, they forgot their fish, and it found its way back to the river sneakily. After they passed that point, he said to his servant, let us have lunch. All this traveling has thoroughly exhausted us. He says, remember when we sat by the rock back there? I paid no attention to the fish. It was the devil who made me forget it, and it found its way back to the river strangely. Moses said that was the place we were looking for. They traced their steps back. They found one of our servants, whom we blessed with mercy and bestowed upon him from our own knowledge. Moses said to him, can I follow you that you may teach me some of the knowledge and the guidance bestowed upon you? So what Moses knows, Moses can communicate God and can feel who is the believer. And in the Quran, we see repeatedly that believers can know each other. In other verses, you should check Quran comprehensively. And he says, you cannot stand be with me. How can you stand that which you do not comprehend? He said, you will find me, God willing, patient. I will not disobey any command you give me. And Moses is more like doing things straight, like honestly. Different. They have different methods. He said, if you follow me, then you shall not ask me about anything, unless I choose to tell you about it. So they went. When they boarded a ship, he bored a hole in it. He said, did you bore a hole in it to drown his people? You have committed something terrible. He said, did I not say that you cannot stand to be with me? He said, I'm sorry, do not punish me for my forgetfulness. Do not be too harsh with me. And this forgetfulness was mentioned in the fish part too. So they went. When they met a young boy, he killed him. He said, why did you kill such an innocent soul, who didn't kill another soul? You have committed something horrendous. He said, did I not tell you that you cannot stand with me? He said, if I ask you about anything else, they do not keep me with you. You have seen enough apologies from me. So they went. When they reached a certain community, they asked people for food, but they refused to host them. Soon, and then they have to eat something, and then soon they found a wall about to collapse, and he fixed it. He said he could have demanded a wage for this. Uh, he said, now we have to part company, but I will explain to you everything you couldn't stand. As for the ship, it belonged to fishermen, and I wanted to render it defective, so there was a king coming after them, who was confiscating every ship forcibly. As for the boy, his parents were good believers, and we saw that he was going to burden them with transgression and disbelief. We will that God, your Lord substitute in places another son, one who is better in righteousness and kindness. As for the wall, it belonged to two orphan boys in the city. Under it there was a treasure that belonged to them. Because their father was a righteous man, your Lord wanted them to grow up and attain full strength, then extract their treasure. Such is mercy from your Lord. So I did none of that of my own volition. Means it's not his selfish decision making. There's a knowledge behind this. This is the explanation of the things you couldn't stand. So, and in this story we see that and this story he has the knowledge uh, about the future events, and this is like the same thing that happened to Moses' mom, and he left his child on the river, and that was for a purpose. If she didn't forget him on the river, that things could be worse for Moses, and Moses cannot be the prophet and cannot be that impactful. So that's interesting. So this is like about the moments that God inspires someone to do something. So this person it seems that he has a lot of those inspirations, and those inspirations are not because of psychosis, not because he's a crazy, and he can also control it cognitively, and he's doing it without questioning. It's unusual, no one does this, but he doesn't reject it, and this is the God's mercy to him, and God's giving by God knowledge, and he has it more frequently than Moses. So that's all I want to say in this video, and thanks for watching this video, and God knows better. Hope to see you in the next video.